Hello friends and fellow gamers, MKxJUMP here, and today we're checking out this week's brand new event for Idle Heroes. We have this week the back end of the Awakening Gala, so we'll be talking about the results of that. It's been very interesting, I have to say. And also this week we have ourselves a Sky Labyrinth event with some additional bonuses added in. So is this worth it for free-to-play players to go and engage with this? Is it even worth it for you to use your wishing coins because Eloise is the top reward? Well, we're going to be answering all those questions and even whether it's worth for spenders to go ahead and pick up this week's Moonlight gift. But before we go ahead and do all of that, let me remind you about Patreon. It's a way you can support the content I make here and in return get yourself rewards such as account reviews, which we do through Discord and Twitch on Tuesdays. If you want more information about that, go ahead and join our Discord. The link is in the description for all the information about account reviews. If you want to back me on Patreon, check out the link up there in the corner. Shout out for this week's patrons. We have Maximilian Aid, Simon Whitmere, and Theodore Freeman Jr. So thank you for your support, guys. I really appreciate it. And do join us on a Tuesday for account reviews. Anyway, let's go check out this week's event for Idle Heroes. Every day for logging in, we're going to get ourselves 15 mithril pickaxes, which will help us with Sky Labyrinth. Also, you get a Super Wishing Coin, which you can collect to help you with the Super Wishing Coin monthly event, which can get you 5 soul symbols. Very, very nice. Now, the most important thing about this week's event is the fact that they've gone ahead and added to the big event this additional bonus called the Dim Sum Restaurant, which basically gives you additional bonuses for every 5 dim sum you collect. So bear that in mind when we go ahead and look at the main stuff. So we have ourselves value packages. This is giving us gems, an increased total of that. It no longer is 10,000, it's 15,000. And they've also increased the number of pickaxes, I believe, and wishing coins. So this is pretty cool for people that want to go ahead and invest in this because the prices have been increased. Then again, most people that do invest use starry gems, and it's probably maybe not the thing you want to be going for unless you're a really early whale. And I'll talk a bit about that in a second. We have Sky Labyrinth, of course, which is what those pickaxes will be used for. And the reason Sky Labyrinth is good is because it gets you various rewards for each level you clear. Pickaxes clear squares, and then eventually an exit will appear. Now, scrolling down, the big stuff here is the artifact at 15. If you're an earlier player, especially early whales will appreciate this. And when you double your rewards, which we'll talk about with the Moonlight gift, you actually get twice as much of everything, except for the dim sum. These will not be doubled. If you can, pushing up to 16 is also great because you can go ahead and get yourself other star spawn cores too. And in fact, 17 is not bad either because it's got 9-star puppets. That's the common cutoff point, 17. Some people like to push further, but really it starts to get a bit silly with how many pickaxes you need to buy. Nonetheless, though, you are picking up dim sum, which will go ahead and get you rewards. Now, if you go ahead and engage with the spending event this week, it's a Moonlight gift. And for every particular amount of VIP XP points you choose to spend, you're going to get yourself various rewards. The key stuff here is extra mithril pickaxes, some treasure coupons, and if you go all the way to $50, you're getting 5,000 gems, 120 wishing coins, and some dim sum privilege. We'll talk about that in a moment. For 3,500 VIP XP, you get an additional 5,000 gems and 20 cores of transcendence, and if you go all the way down to 5,000, which is $100, you get yourself 100 glorious relics, 60 mithril pickaxes, 500,000 stellar shards, and double privileges from the Sky Labyrinth, which doubles all the bonuses you would get except for the dim sum. Now, this is really, really helpful because you're able to buy pretty much anything and get all these bonus rewards added in, which are really, really good. The value here is excellent if you wanted to go ahead and spend $100. I would only recommend that if that was a normal amount for you guys to spend, but the dim sum privilege even adds more to this because it means for every 5 of those dim sums, you're not just getting wishing coins, 5 stars, and eventually mithril pickaxes when you get to 15, and that does, of course, just repeat in that same pattern over and over. You're actually getting for each level a core and either stellar shards or spiritual essence. Now that's very exciting because stellar shards are one of the most important resources for leveling up heroes, and spiritual essence is something I like to not invest in heavily unless it's just coming organically, and this is an event that's going to give that organically for accounts. That's particularly great for earlier whales as well who are looking to save up so that they can do something like the glory challenge. So I see the dim sum as really good value here, and especially for newer whales because you can go ahead and get the double artifact from Sky Labyrinth, and you're also picking up a ton of cores and a ton of stellars. Now, another way to get dim sum that isn't Sky Labyrinth is by using wishing coins. This is getting you 2 for 50, another 2 for 100, 3 for 200, and another 3 for getting to 300. And that's on top of the additional profit orbs, super wishing coins, and actually a copy of LOEs here for getting to the top. That can repeat up to 9 times as well. Now, normally we recommend it's really good to use your wishing coins during an event that gives bonus rewards when that bonus reward is either an artifact or a sublimation chest. That's been kind of the way for the last couple years. That said though, for people who are much later in the game and maybe have all of the artifacts they want, and maybe even have a lot of sublimation or just naturally pick that up from events anyway, then perhaps using your wishing coins this week is not a bad idea if you're going to get yourself the dim sum privilege. Because using wishing coins is actually going to generate you cores, like we said, and stellar shards. And that's really, really, really valuable because that is a huge resource no matter the point you are in the game. And the fact that you can also use wishing coins for artifacts and sublimation potentially pulls people back from that. But if you're a later player who doesn't need so many artifacts and sublimation anymore, that makes using your wishing coins this week really, really, really good. And that's absolutely what I'm going to be doing on the VIP series. So for anyone that's later into the game, isn't chasing artifacts, I really think actually using your wishing coins is super great. If, on the other hand, you're a free-to-play player who still needs more artifacts and more sublimation, which is probably most, if not all, free-to-play players out there, and budget players, it's best to save your wishing coins, because there will eventually be an event that's going to get you artifacts or sublimation. So just keep on hoarding and don't go in on this one, even if you do think you need that copy of LOEs. In fact, if you're a really early player that really wants copies of LOEs, the only time I would encourage you to do this is if you already have all the food necessary to build an E5, and let's say you're 1 copy away from the LOEs. And if by picking up that LOEs now, you're going to unlock the void, that could be particularly good. But do not forget there are plenty of other ways to pick up copies of LOEs in this game, and therefore it's probably still not worth it at that point. In fact, you can just go ahead and pick up a 5-star for getting to floor 6 in the Sky Labyrinth. So that 5-star chest can very easily be that last copy of LOEs as well. So just bear that in mind if you're planning on making progress by picking up an LOEs copy. There are other ways to do it, which are far more reliable. Also, mysterious chests are not just giving you their usual rewards, they're giving you dim sum as well. So this is another place you can pick it up, but be warned that top one that's 10 dim sum is the 8k chest. And if you look at the rewards proportionally, 10 dim sum for 8,000 versus 8 for 4,000, well, the value just doesn't seem quite right. Now, the 8k chest has been a matter of debate for quite some time now, and I'm still of the opinion that it's not that worth it anymore, unless you're super duper early into the game. But then again, 8,000 gems is a huge amount to go ahead and blow, and there are way better things to get with gems now in the game, especially for budget players and free to play. So I would say if you're a budget player or free to play and you don't have a lot of gems splashing around, do not grab that top chest. In fact, the only chests really worth considering are the heroic summon scrolls and the prophet orbs, and even then I wouldn't be surprised if you skipped this. If you are going to go ahead and buy the dim sum privilege though, then I guess you can go with any amount of mysterious chests that you feel comfortable with. I personally will probably be buying all the ones here except for the 8k, as that's going to get me 20 dim sum, which is enough to get me 4 cores of transcendence and pretty much 2 hits of stellar shards and 2 hits of spiritual essence. Really valuable for making progress. I think the mysterious chests are also pretty solid value anyway. The resources are really nice. So if that's something you've got the gems to spare for going with, then by all means do it. If you aren't sitting on a stack of gems though, maybe it's worth skipping. So the main thing free-to-play players are going to be doing this week is probably just taking themselves up, getting to probably floor 6, and you probably don't even need to use that many or any gems at all to go and buy some extra pickaxes to do that, because you will potentially get some as a reward just for engaging with the normal dim sum restaurant. If you're a spender, the Moonlight Gift is fantastic, and then that will inform whether you want to go ahead and use wishing coins or not. So all in all, it's pretty good, and the mysterious chests are fantastic, but I think the cool thing about this event is there's no punishment for not doing it. There's no super fancy reward that you're going to miss out on that's not available later down the line. So this is either a big snooze event that you're not going to do much in, or it's an event that you're prepared to spend and engage with. And that's really cool, because that means it can suit your budget. If you want to spend, you can skip it and not feel guilty. And I think it's a really nice thing to have just after Anniversary, because Anniversary did hit a lot of people. People are still feeling that. Their paychecks, it's only just started with July now. People don't necessarily want to be spending tons on the game right now. So these kind of events are pretty good. And you can still pick up some passive rewards as a free-to-play or budget player, just to help you in the future to gain a little bit of something. Now, if we do talk about budget and spending, though, I really wanted to go and take a look at the Soul Awakening session leaderboards. Now, a lot of people like myself will have pushed to 100 plus just to get themselves a B stone, and that's totally great. But you can see the top players were getting SSS, SS, and S stones for the top 6. The top 10 were getting A+, the top 20 were getting an A, and the top 50 were getting an A-. And there are some really brutal cutoff points I wanted to draw your attention to. Look at the gap between 6 and 7. These guys went up to 22,000 points. It is wild how much money they spent to go ahead and do those awakens. And the poor guy who got 7th didn't get an S stone for his efforts. And look at that huge jump down to 8th. It is brutal. I just feel so sorry for that guy. And also, you just don't want to think about the kind of spending that he's just lost because he couldn't get an S tier. And was it worth it? Probably not. And I mean, the most brutal of all is if you scroll down here to 50, which was the cutoff point for an A tier. And A tier is a huge for Giant Killer. Look at this guy, 6668, and 51st, who only gets a B+, was 6667. 1 point difference. That is horrendous. And it really goes to show that pushing these galas now is just never a good idea, because even if you're one of the biggest of spenders, there's always going to be someone out there that is going to try and push you down. Even Myth, a whale who is legendary in this community for how much crazy early spending he's been doing, couldn't even scratch himself into 50 because iOS and Android are both competing with each other here, and it does get really messy. And I worry, genuinely worry for people that have spent a ton on this, because it makes you think, are they just chasing this for the reward, or are they chasing this because they're addicted? And you wonder how deep these guys get into this to then realize they're in over their heads, and the sunken cost fallacy hits hard. They say just one more and end up spending way more than they need to. And I bet you some people just ran out of 5 stars. It just gets brutal. And the difference between these guys, look how close some of these results are. It is wild. The top 50 was marginal. And I just feel so bad for people that missed out, because it gets cutthroat now, and really I would never ever want to touch a gala to go and get rewards. So I think, see this as a warning to anyone that might be thinking about doing one of these things. It is not worth it. I think I would just go ahead and just buy your copy from the auction house, because the other thing is, 50 people just got an A- or better, and that's going to drive the prices in the auction house down because supply just massively increases. It makes no sense at all. I just do not understand this behavior, and I would strongly encourage, if you guys ever thought about doing something like this, to strongly reconsider, because I just think getting to 300 points and getting your B stone and your sublimation chest is way more than enough, and the tens of thousands of dollars you need to spend to even get top of this leaderboard, it's questionable if it's worth it. With all that said, and of course this quiet Sky Labyrinth event ahead of us, well, let's go take a look at next week's event. And this looks rather exciting. We have ourselves a release of a brand new Transcendence hero, Natalie. Very cool. There's also a hero exchange event, one of the coolest we've seen, which is Elena and Vulcan. My stream viewers made the mistake of thinking that was one singular shard, and if you know you need 50 to make a 5-star, don't worry, that just means you can only get one copy, like full copy of each. And that's totally normal. Vulcan, Elena, really cool heroes. Glad they've been put in here, and definitely heroes I think a lot of you will appreciate getting your hands on. Whether Natalie is going to be a really powerful Transcendence hero, we don't know, but we will just have to wait and see. And I'm quite excited for this one because she's probably going to be a support hero, and a lot of people are speculating she's going to be the next big thing. But that said, though, speculation doesn't necessarily mean she is actually going to be super duper strong. So as I said, we're going to have to wait and see. And if you're curious about that, hit that subscribe button. I will be reviewing next week's event, of course, like I always do on a Friday, so make sure you catch those too. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you're going to be doing this event. Are you going to go crazy with wishing coins and spend some money on the Moonlight gift to get a ton of cores? Or are you going to skip this event and wait for something bigger in the future? Anyway, let me know, folks. I'll see you next time. Have a good week, and happy idling.